If you want to create a native forest from scratch and you have thousands or tens of thousands of trees to plant, then you'll need to learn how to plant efficiently. This requires two things: the right tool, usually a spade, and the right planting technique. If you're a gardener or you've been involved in community planting events, you may be surprised to see how the professionals do it. First, there are several cuts to cultivate the soil at the front of the hole. Then the tree is placed slightly below ground level before being firmed in with the planter's boot. Lastly, a back cut pushes the soil towards the back of the root ball so that there's good contact all the way around, enabling the plant to draw water from the surrounding soil and send its roots out into it. Notice the planter never teases out the roots or in any way interferes with the root ball. Each planter uses a slight variation of the same technique, but the aim is always the same: to make sure that there's good soil contact around the tree so that the roots can get out into the surrounding soil and the tree won't blow over or dry out. These trees were planted by this planting crew exactly 3 years ago, using this planting method. And here I am standing among the same trees 4.5 years after they were planted.
It's an old drainage spade that's been cut down. Then we weld a foot on, a foot here and a foot here. This is the ideal length. As we plant more and more trees, it will become shorter and shorter as the steel wears.
This is Brett's old spade after it had planted 60,000 trees. You can see the blade is worn right down. It's too short to do that technique, that planting technique, efficiently anymore. But apart from that, it's as strong as the day it was manufactured. You can see the welds here where the shaft is welded onto the blade. Everything's heavy duty welding, and the same here. Still as strong as the day it was made. I'd just like to explain the difference between a professional tool like this, which is made to be used all day, every day for a planting season, 2 planting seasons, till the blade wears out, and a cheap, light duty spade, which is perfectly good for community plantings. You know, planting 10, 20, 50 trees in a day. You could probably take 60,000 selfies with this without damaging it. But it's very light duty. You get what you pay for. It's just rolled steel, and the handle is held on by a single rivet, and the same with this. If you're in tough ground or rocky ground, when you do that, eventually this is going to open up and it's going to start to flex here, and you'll just lose all your strength. The power that you put into it is going to be absorbed by the flex in the spade instead of being transferred into the ground, which is what you need if you're going to be digging 500-600 holes a day, which is like 600, could be 3,000, 4,000 cuts. It's a lot of work, so you want to have the right tool. This one's from Levin Timber Saws. It's purpose made for planting trees. It's got a foot bar already on it. There's no modifications needed when you buy it. It's got that foot bar. It's got a spear shaped head, narrow, so it channels your energy into a smaller hole. It makes it easier to dig. It's a very thick blade and it's quite heavy. Both of these professional ones are around just under 3 kilos. This one's slightly over, this one's slightly under. But the main thing about this is it's absolutely, both of these, is that they're absolutely rigid from one end to the other. So that when you use it as a lever in hard or rocky ground, there's no flex in the spade to absorb your body's energy, and all the energy is transferred into what you're doing. Whereas with this, once it gets floppy, you can't use it as a lever. It becomes a shock absorber, so when you're trying to lever it, half of your energy is being lost in the spade. There'll obviously be other brands of spade out there that I'm not even aware of, but these two I know are available in New Zealand. This one here, without modification, is purpose built for planting. But whatever spade you choose, make sure it's sharp, because basically it's a cutting instrument. It's made to cut through soil, and so the sharper it is, the less work you have to do. $113 from Levin Timber Saws, money well spent.
Here's an even easier planting method that seems to work just as well.
So it's like a T, and all it is pretty much is it splits this bit of dirt open like a book, where the center of the tree ends up being in the middle rather than cutting out a big square and having to chop it up. I like to face mine downhill, my first cut down. It's just a little wriggle to break up a little bit of the ground, ready for the T. And it goes down and then in.
Notice none of the planters ever mess with the root ball.
Like that. And then when the plant comes, slots in there, one side, other side, and around the back. Okay, so here's the T-cut again. Break, and again, in. And as you come down, there should be a little bit of dirt, or loose dirt anyway.
Levering the sward upwards creates a bed of loose dirt in the bottom of the hole.
This goes in, relatively the same height as the dirt, and you just stomp around it, providing it doesn't come out.
So, buy yourself a quality spade and sharpen it. Then, practice your technique until you're confident that you can give a young native seedling everything it needs to give it a good start in life. Carry a file so you can keep your spade sharp if you hit rocks during the day. With a team in front of you, debagging the plants and laying them out, a planter should be able to plant 500 to 600 or even more trees in a day on anything but the most difficult country.